It begins quietly, almost unnoticed. You're only 6 years old, huddled by the doorframe, watching your parents fall apart piece by piece. Maybe it's addiction, maybe it's explosive rage. Maybe it's just the cold void of an adult who can no longer show up. In that moment, something primal clicks in your young mind. If I don't hold everything together, there'll be nothing left. This is how a child disappears, not literally, but spiritually. They learn to smile more, cry less. They learn to read the room before speaking. They become the family's emotional thermostat. They turn into miniature adults while their minds are still far too tender, and the world pats them on the back with praise. You're so mature, you're so reliable, you're so resilient. But no one stops to ask, what's the cost? This is the invisible pain of children who grow up too fast. Today, we'll dive deep into the psychology of that child, because the consequences don't fade with time. They shape you, follow you into relationships, careers, and the way you see your own worth. If you don't understand what happened, you'll spend your entire adult life repeating survival patterns that once saved you but are now quietly eroding you. Let's start with what really happens in development. When children are forced to prop up adults' emotions instead of being propped up, psychologists call it role reversal. That's when the child becomes the caregiver, the mediator, the counselor, the protector. This isn't just unhealthy, it rewires the brain. Because when a child is constantly responsible for regulating emotions, their own or others, it creates a state called hypervigilance. You're always scanning for danger. You walk on eggshells. You learn that love is a transaction. You bring peace, maybe they'll give safety. You learn that your needs are a threat, while theirs are urgent. So you erase yourself, not physically, but emotionally. Instead, a version of you grows, one that performs perfectly. You become the good kid, the quiet achiever, the therapist friend, the one who never asks for anything. And you wear that mask so convincingly that even you forget it's fake. But deep down, something aches, something bleeds for the child inside that you buried but didn't kill. It's still there, screaming in silence. Why didn't anyone protect me? As you grow up, the symptoms get more complex. You might become hyper-independent. You reject help, push people away, or never feel truly safe in love. You might freeze in moments of joy because happiness feels foreign, undeserved, even dangerous. You might be unable to rest because productivity is the only way you've ever felt valuable. And worst of all, you might not realize you're still stuck in survival mode. Because when dysfunction is normalized early, your nervous system accepts chaos as baseline. Silence feels wrong, peace feels suspicious, love feels like a debt you have to pay. This is the psychology of a child forced to grow up too fast. It's not just sadness, it's complex trauma that reshapes how you see the world, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Now you might wonder, why would a child willingly take on that role? Because children will do anything to maintain attachment, even abandon themselves. That choice is never conscious. It's biological instinct. In the absence of safety, the child sacrifices authenticity for belonging. That's not weakness. That's intelligence. That's instinct. But the tragedy is this. What once saved you now imprisons you. So many of us walk around as high-functioning adults with deeply abandoned inner children pulling the strings. We achieve greatness to earn love. We stay silent to avoid abandonment. We care for everyone, but secretly hope someone asks if we're okay. And that fantasy that someone will see you're not as strong as you pretend. That maybe, just maybe, you'll be allowed to fall apart and be held. That's the unmet need. Not of the adult ego, but of the child who never got to be a child. The first step to healing isn't fixing. It's witnessing. Because until you acknowledge what happened, you'll keep lying to yourself with thoughts like, it wasn't that bad. Others had it worse. I'm fine. But fine is just another mask. And deep down, you know it. So what happens to that child when they grow up? They become adults who never feel safe, even in quiet rooms. They become lovers who can't trust tenderness. They become givers who can't receive. They become the type who apologizes for crying, flinches at compliments, and mistakes burnout for success. This is the price of growing up too early. Because if childhood trained you to be strong at the cost of softness, silent instead of honest, fixing others while ignoring your own cracks, what kind of adulthood do you inherit? You inherit a life where you're always holding your breath, waiting for someone to finally let you break. But here's the truth. No one is coming to save the child you buried. You have to go back and take its hand. You have to say what no one ever said. You didn't deserve that. You were just a kid. You get to rest now. This is the beginning of shadow work. Not fixing, not performing, not dodging pain with fake positivity, but returning to the abandoned parts of yourself and saying, I see you now, I hear you, and I'm not leaving. That's the rebuilding process. And it's brutal because it requires you to feel the grief you never had time to feel. It requires you to sit with the anger, the sadness, the unmet needs, cry for the birthdays no one showed up to, mourn the innocence you lost, protecting those who should have protected you. But that grief isn't weakness. It's proof you're healing, because what was frozen is finally thawing. Now, let's talk about how this survival pattern shows up in adulthood, subtle, tragic, and often invisible. You might become the therapist in every friendship, but never let anyone truly see you. You might be praised for independence when deep down you're terrified of being a burden. You might be in relationships where you overfunction, always fixing, managing, over-explaining, and wonder why you're resentful. You might struggle with boundaries because saying no still feels like betrayal. These aren't personality traits. They're coping strategies, learned, conditioned. And the good news is, they can be unlearned, but only when you stop worshiping your strength and start honoring your wounds. One of the most powerful things you can do is ask your inner child, what did you need back then that you never got? You might hear answers like, I needed someone to say it wasn't my fault. I needed someone to ask how my day was. I needed to play, rest, laugh without fear. And slowly, very slowly, you start giving those things to yourself. Not to fix the past, but to stop reliving it. This is how you stop looking for parents in partners. This is how you stop mistaking anxiety for intuition. This is how you stop running from the child you were and the self you're becoming. Carl Jung once said, no consciousness comes without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But shadow work demands we face it, all of it. The abandoned parts, the shame, the fear, the rage. Because healing isn't becoming someone new. It's remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So if you grew up too fast, know this. Your maturity was never the problem. The problem was you had no choice. But now you do. You can choose tenderness. You can choose rest. You can choose to stop managing everyone's emotions and start honoring your own. And no, it doesn't happen overnight. There will be days you feel like a child again. Good. That's the point. Let that child come home. Let it cry. Let it play. Let it finally be seen. Because you're not broken. You're becoming whole. And maybe for the first time, you're growing up the right way. Not under pressure, not out of fear, but out of truth. You didn't have a childhood, but you still have a future. And this time, you get to write it. Imagine an old house with cracked walls you've learned to cover with beautiful tapestries. Every time guests come, they see only the tidy exterior, never knowing the deep fissures beneath. The child who grew up too fast is that master painter. They know how to wallpaper, how to smile at the right moment, how to stay silent when needed, but they were never taught how to fix the foundation. That foundation is the attachment system, distorted from the root. When a child has to constantly guess which version of a parent they'll get today, the gentle one or the explosive one, their brain develops an internal map called the world is unstable, but I can control it if I'm good enough. This map isn't just memory, it's the hardware of the nervous system. Trauma researchers have found that in children with role reversal, the amygdala, the alarm center, runs on overdrive, while the prefrontal cortex, the executive center, is suppressed. The result? A brain stuck in fight or flight even when there's no real threat. You walk into a work meeting, heart racing, palms sweating, just because your boss frowns. That's not ordinary anxiety. That's body memory replaying. Let's go deeper into the biology. When you were small and had to soothe a drunk adult, you learned to release cortisol stress hormone on demand. Cortisol doesn't just keep you alert, it suppresses dopamine, the joy chemical. Long-term result. You can achieve massive success but feel none of its joy. The trophy shines, but your chest is a cold void. You wonder, is this happiness? Why don't I feel anything? Another phenomenon is learned helplessness in reverse. Normally, learned helplessness is giving up because effort is futile. But for children who grew up too fast, they learn, if I try hard enough, I can prevent disaster. So they never quit. They work 80-hour weeks, save every relationship, become professional problem solvers. But the cost, they never learn to let go. They don't know some things can't be controlled. Look at how they love. They love like project managers. They plan, they contingency, they always have a plan B. If their partner is 5 minutes late, their mind runs through 17 scenarios. Is he mad? Is he leaving? What did I do wrong? They don't love from the heart, they love from a checklist. And when the relationship ends, they don't grieve the person they grieve, failing to manage well. Now let's talk intimacy. For them, intimacy isn't openness, it's risk. Opening up means exposing weakness, and weakness once got them hurt. So they create intimacy anorexia. They're with you 24/7, but you never truly touch them. They tell jokes, cook well, remember anniversaries, but they never say, I'm scared today or I'm hurting. Another manifestation, the fawning response. Among fight, flight, freeze, fawning is the lesser-known fifth. It's appeasing the aggressor to avoid harm. The child who grew up too fast becomes a fawning master. They say it's fine when hurt. They laugh when criticized. They apologize when they're not wrong. And as adults, they fawn to bosses, partners, even themselves. Imagine a spring compressed too long. It never fully releases, so it vibrates at a low frequency. That's their nervous system. They don't have big explosions. They have constant small tremors, insomnia, unexplained muscle pain, digestive issues, a perpetual always tired but can't rest. Doctors call it somatic symptoms of developmental trauma, a lesser discussed loss, the play schema. Normal children develop through play. They test roles, fail safely, learn to imagine. But the child who grew up too fast had no time for play, only work. Result, as adults, they don't know carefree fun. They only know purposeful joy, team building, networking events, vacations to recharge for work. Pure play makes them anxious. I'm wasting time. Let's talk self-awareness. They have high emotional IQ. They read others like open books. But their self-awareness is alarmingly low. They don't know what they feel until their body collapses. They mistake hunger for anxiety, fatigue for depression, burnout for normal. They have a rich vocabulary for others' emotions, but only 3 words for their own: fine, good, okay. Now look at careers. They often choose helping professions, nurses, teachers, counselors, HR. Not out of passion, but familiarity. They know caregiving, they know firefighting, but they don't know receiving care. They climb fast because they handle crises, but burn out fast because they can't say, I need a break. They become the organization's silent hero, but at home, they're an empty shell. An interesting phenomenon, imposter syndrome on steroids. They achieve great success, but always feel like frauds, not from lack of skill, but because success doesn't match their internal map. The map says, my value comes from saving others. When no one needs saving, they feel useless. So they unconsciously create crises, take on extra projects, rescue struggling friends, even choose partners who need fixing. Let's talk sleep. Their sleep isn't rest. It's a mission. They set alarms every 4 hours to check if the kid has a fever, if work emailed, if their partner texted. They sleep with one eye open. They dream of solving problems. They wake more tired than when they went to bed. They call it efficient rest, but it's rest in hypervigilance, a subtle manifestation, emotional hoarding. They don't express negative emotions for fear of burdening others. Instead, they hoard anger, sadness, hurt like canned goods. One day the cupboard bursts, and everything spills in an uncontrolled explosion. Then they're ashamed, apologize, and hoard again. Imagine a bicycle with a misaligned chain. You pedal hard, but don't go far. Just waste energy on invisible friction. That's their life. They pedal diligently, but the chain's off, so effort is lost. They wonder, why do others achieve more with less? The answer isn't skill or luck. It's the misaligned chain called I don't deserve to receive without paying. Now, leave the brain lab and step into the mirror room where the child who grew up too fast faces themselves. The mirror doesn't reflect your face now. It reflects you at 7, wide-eyed, clutching your shirt, trying not to cry because big kids are strong. If you dare look longer than 5 seconds, you'll see that child didn't vanish. It just learned to stand behind you, whispering questions adults don't dare ask. First question, am I allowed to be weak? In their world, weakness isn't a state. It's a crime. They were trained that crying is failure, rest is laziness, needing help is burden. So they invent functional fragility, fragile but still operational. They can cry in the car between meetings but wipe tears before entering. They can tremble in the office bathroom but smile when the door opens. That's the art of breaking without shattering. Let's talk self-care. For them, self-care isn't a bubble bath, it's machine maintenance. They run 5K not to relax but to dump cortisol. They eat salad not because they like it but to optimize energy. They meditate 10 minutes not for stillness but for productivity. Their self-care is an Excel sheet. Calories, steps, sleep hours. No line for joy. A lesser noticed phenomenon. Parentified child's guilt. They feel guilty when happy. When things are calm, they wonder who's hurting that I don't know. They unconsciously seek drama to feel needed. Friends fight, they mediate. Colleagues stress, they take extra work. Families peaceful, they worry, is this calm before the storm? They're addicted to the savior role like caffeine. Look at how they say, I love you. For them, it's not a confession, it's a warranty. They say it with an implicit clause. I'll love you if you let me care for you. They don't know unconditional love, because the love they got only came when they earned it. Result, they love at 120% capacity but receive 30% and wonder why they're still hungry. Now, boundaries, the ultimate luxury. Boundaries aren't walls. To them, they're treason. Saying no feels like betraying those who once needed them. Their internal dictionary. No equals abandonment equals danger. So they say yes when their body screams no. They accept party invites when they want sleep. They answer 2A, and calls when they need rest. They call it flexible. It's self-destruction, a subtle manifestation. Emotional labor outsourcing. They don't process their emotions. They delegate. They tell a sad story to a friend, not for comfort, but so the friend comforts them. Thus they feel they did something. They don't cry in front of partners. They cry in anonymous online support groups. They don't want partners to see weakness, because if they do, they'd have to care for themselves, and they don't know how. Imagine a hollow vase painted gold. Everyone says, what a beautiful vase, but no one knows it's empty inside. That's them. They can throw perfect birthday parties for their kids, but forget their own. They can comfort you through a breakup, but don't know how to comfort themselves after losing a job. They have expert-level caregiving, but kindergarten-level self-care, a heartbreaking aspect, grief illiteracy. They don't know how to grieve properly. When loss hits, they don't cry. They plan funerals. They don't mourn. They clean the house. They don't miss. They work double. Grief is something to manage efficiently, not feel. Result, pain doesn't vanish. It seeps into bones, becomes autoimmune disease, unexplained headaches. Let's talk creativity. Creativity needs space, failure, play, but they have no space. Every free moment is filled with tasks. They don't paint for joy. They paint to sell. They don't journal to understand. They make to-do lists. They don't daydream. They 5-year plan. Their creativity is jailed in efficiency. Now, their relationship with money. Money isn't a tool. It's proof. More money equals more value equals less chance of abandonment. They save not to enjoy, but to prepare for the day parents need. They invest not for freedom, but to prove I'm no longer a burden. They can earn millions, but live like the poor, because deep down, spending on themselves is selfish. An interesting phenomenon, vicarious living. They live through others' successes, kids' achievements, friends' happiness, team projects. Others' wins are their painkillers. When their child gets into college, they feel accepted. When a friend gets promoted, they feel promoted. But ask, are you happy? And they hesitate. Personal happiness is foreign territory. Let's talk the body. Their body is a war map. Shoulders always tense from invisible loads. Jaw clenched from swallowed words. Stomach knotted from chronic anxiety. They go to the gym, not to feel good, but to punish. They run marathons, not to push limits, but to prove I'm still in control. The body is an enemy to conquer, not a friend to listen to. One final manifestation in this section: future catastrophizing. They don't dream of the future, they prepare for disaster. They have 12-month emergency funds, but no fun retirement plans. They buy insurance for everything, but no travel tickets. They live in when disaster strikes, I'll be ready. But disaster rarely comes, and life passes in the waiting room. Imagine a bird in a golden cage. The cage is beautiful, food plentiful, but the doors open and the bird won't fly. That's them. They have everything for freedom, but their wings forgot how. Freedom isn't no cage, it's remembering how to fly. And flying starts with one small step: admitting you deserve to fly, even if no one claps. This isn't a heal in 7 steps section. No formula, no checklist. Just a narrow, nameless, unlocked door, heavy as a compressed childhood. You don't open it with strength. You open it with acknowledgement. I no longer want to live, to prove I deserve to live. When you say that, even in your head, the door cracks. The light isn't blinding. It's faint, trembling, but enough to see the small hand holding yours from inside. First step: reparenting in real time. Parent yourself again, right now. Not in memory, not in fantasy, but in the present moment. When you're alone and your heart races over an unanswered email, pause. Place a hand on your chest. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 4, exhale 4. Repeat 3 times. Then whisper not loudly, you're safe. Mom, Dad isn't here anymore. You don't have to fix anyone. Sounds silly? Yes. But the nervous system doesn't know silly. It knows repetition. Second step: micro boundaries. No need to declare, I'll say no to everything, just once. When a colleague asks for extra work at 6 p.m., instead of instant, sure, I'll do it, say, let me check my schedule and reply in 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes are your territory. They teach your brain the world won't collapse if you don't react instantly. Repeat 100 times, big boundaries grow. Third step: grief appointments. Schedule fixed time, Tuesday, 7 p.m., 15 minutes, just 15. Sit. Play sad music or silence. Allow crying or not. Allow one painful memory. When 15 minutes end, stand, wash your face, continue your day. At first it feels pointless. After 6 weeks, pain no longer lurks 24/7. It has a schedule and you set it. Fourth step: play prescriptions. Write 10 activities that made you laugh at age 5. No reason, no goal. Doodle, jump rope, blow soap bubbles, sing karaoke alone. Pick one weekly. Do it for 20 minutes. No photos, no stories, just play. If guilt rises, I'm wasting time, note it like rain. Oh, guilt's visiting. Let it rain, I'll keep playing. Fifth step: body as witness. Once daily, stand before a mirror. Look at your body, no judgment, no fixing, just look. Then say one true sentence. Today my shoulders are tense because I carried too much. You're allowed to let go. Repeat 30 days. You'll realize your body isn't the enemy. It's the only friend who's been with you from the start, waiting for you to return. Sixth step: relationship audits. Take paper, divide in half. Left: people I care for. Right: people who care for me. Count. If left is twice as long, you're in the red. No need to cut anyone. Just start asking, how are you today? And listen, no fixing, no advice. First time feels awkward. 10th time, you'll feel seen. 7th step: rage release rituals. Repressed anger is gas in a tank. Once monthly, find private space. Set 10-minute timer. Scream into a pillow, punch a bag, write an unsent letter and tear it. No specific reason, just release. Then drink water, lie down, feel the body's light tremble. That's the nervous system venting. Anger doesn't vanish. It learns to come and go with permission. 8th step: joy tracking. Get a small notebook. Daily write 3 moments that made you smile, no matter how tiny. Coffee smell, a friend's text, sunlight through the window. No explanation. After 30 days, reread. You'll see joy isn't luxury. It was there, you just never paused to note it. Ninth step, therapeutic alliance. Find a therapist who sees you not as a case, but as a co-author of your life story. No lifelong commitment. Just 6 sessions to try. If you cry in the first, good. If you're silent, good. The goal isn't fixing you. It's having someone sit in silence without demanding strength. Final step, future self letters. Write a letter to yourself in 5 years. Not about success, money, status. Just feelings. I hope in 5 years you wake without checking your phone. I hope you have a do-nothing day and still feel enough. Schedule it to email later. When it arrives, you'll be amazed how far you've come, not by the world's ruler, but by the heart's. Now about bad days, because they'll come. Days you forget every step, revert to autopilot, care for all, neglect self. That's not failure. It's data. Note, what was today's trigger? Boss's email? Mom's text? What did I do to protect myself? Data turns bad days into lessons, not verdicts. Imagine an abandoned garden, weeds everywhere, soil parched. You don't turn it into a palace in a day. Just pull 1 weed daily, water 1 drop. After a year, a green patch. After 3, a garden. The inner child doesn't need a superhero, it needs a patient gardener. And when you've done enough, one day you'll wake, sunlight through curtains, and you won't rush to check your phone. You'll lie there, hear birds, feel your breath. Nothing to fix, no one to save, just you and your body in a quiet room. For the first time, you smile for no one. That's the day the inner child whispers, "Thank you, Mom, Dad, for coming home." You don't have to believe it now. Just take 1 step, 1 small step. Because that child has waited a long time, but it's not in a hurry. It knows you'll come not with medals, not with solutions, but with a warm hand and a long overdue sentence. Now it's your turn to be a kid. The door is still open. No one pushes you through. You step. 1 step, then another, until you realize you're no longer walking to escape the past, you're walking to meet the future, a future that needs no proof, just presence. And when you're present, you'll see the world doesn't collapse when you rest. Love doesn't vanish when you say no. Joy needs no reason. You don't have to grow up anymore. You just have to grow up right slowly, gently, like a tree watered for the first time after years of drought. The child you were doesn't need you to be a hero. It just needs you to come back, sit on the floor, and play with it for a while. Just a while, then a while longer, until you both, you big and you small, build a new home together, not with bricks, but with moments allowed to be weak, allowed to be joyful, allowed to be you. This isn't the end. This is the beginning. The beginning of a second childhood, not the one you had, but the one you deserved. And this time, you hold the key.